The aftermath and reaction to Jamal Bowman losing has been priceless. AOC and Bernie Sanders are angry. Progressives are shocked. How could this go wrong? What went wrong? And they're starting to take aim at AIPAC. And look, AIPAC did play a role. They gave a lot of money to his opponent. Let's face it, $14.5 million was put into this race. That's a lot of money for a congressional seat. But there's a reason why. Why Jamal Bowman lost. So I first want to pull up this tweet from Kshama Sawant, and she explains it perfectly. Here's why Jamal Bowman lost. Squad member Jamal Bowman's defeat is a cautionary tale for the left, and certainly for socialists, about what can happen when leaders break their promises to the working class. Bowman voted to fund Israel's state's Iron Dome project. He voted for that. He voted for that. He voted for that. AOC did a present, but he voted for it. With the rest of the squad, he voted to block railroad workers' strike and refused to fight for a $15 minimum wage or Medicare for all, or as we like to call it, forced to vote. See, liberals, Democrats, all those people that went to bat for the squad members, those 15 congressmen and women, including AOC and Bowman, when we asked them to force a vote way back in 2021, we warned them that this was going to cost them their coalition, and it turns out we were correct. Hard Lens Media was correct. Due Dissidence was correct. Jimmy Dore was correct, but AOC and Bowman were dismissing him. Oh, wait, RBN was correct. Every INN was correct on this, and the progressive movement went belly up. Working people are fed up with being sold out. We need a party of our own, rooted in mass movements, as it should be. But the squad doesn't get the bigger picture, because AOC wants to take aim at AIPAC, because it's all AIPAC's fault. AIPAC did play a role, but AOC, Jamal Bowman, Bernie Sanders, Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, DSA. You want to look at who caused Bowman's defeat and might potentially Cori Bush's defeat? Look yourselves in the frickin' mirror for siding with the neoliberal Democrats. You guys abandoned your voting base. You broke up your coalition. You didn't keep the people together. So Representative AOC slammed AIPAC for pouring tens of millions into Representative Jamal Bowman's divisive primary race on Wednesday after Bowman lost the primary to a more moderate Democrat. Bowman, a second-term progressive, faced tough opposition from the pro-Israeli political advocacy group AIPAC because of his criticism of the Israeli government. But he voted to fund the Israel's Iron Dome project. So just want to remind that. I wonder if AOC gives a damn about that. She probably doesn't. Continuing on. Continuing on right here. The group has historically funded more Republicans than Democrats and rarely spent on Democratic primaries, spent at least $14.5 million against Jamal Bowman. This was about $20 million in big money being spent in a historic sum, unlike seen in any in American history, point blank period. Bullshit, AOC. In 2018, we had the most expensive governor's race. Like, there's so many expensive races. Yes, AIPAC is a lobby group, but they're not in all the races. And I got to tell you something here, folks. This isn't going to be the first big money race, nor will it be the last. But here, let's hear from AOCIA herself. I mean, AOC. AOC.
This was about $20 million in big money being spent in a historic sum, unlike any seen in American history. Point blank period. And I think we need to have a real conversation about AIPAC. I think that what we do need to have a real conversation.
Oh, you do want to have a real conversation? Why don't you show up on the Jimmy Dore Show or INN or Hard Lens Media or Due Dissidence or RBN? And we could talk to you about money and politics. We could talk about your fancy, fantastic friend, Nancy Pelosi, who does insider trading, right? We could talk about her. Oh, wait, we don't want to talk about her? We don't want to talk about Mama Bear? What about Chucky Boy Schumer? What about Biden? What about all the other neoliberal Democrats? What about Hakeem Jeffries and everyone else? You want to have that conversation? No, I don't think so. Because again, pulling up this tweet right here, squad member Jamal Bowman's defeat is a cautionary tale for the left and certainly for socialists about what can happen when leaders break their promises to the working class. Bowman voted to fund the Israel State Iron Dome project, With the rest of the squad, he voted to block railroad workers' strike and refused to fight for $59 minimum wage or Medicare for all / hashtag force to vote. Working people are fed up with being sold out. We need a party of our own rooted in fighting mass in movements. So there you go. So hold on, AOC. Say this again about money and politics. You want to have a serious conversation? Unless you feel that words are violence.
Point blank period. And I think we need to have a real conversation about AIPAC. I think that what we do need to have a real conversation about is how a Republican, primarily Republican and largely Republican financed organization is playing and dumping money and playing an extremely divisive role in the Democratic Party. And by the way, it makes it much harder for us to coalition build and to create the win.
Oh, that's your own damn fault. Stop lying. Stop with your bullshit. That's your own fault. You broke up that coalition, being part of cancel culture. You know, you weren't such a big help for the 2020 Bernie Sanders campaign. Even though he was a nutless wonder, you were definitely a wrench in the machine, causing more problems than solutions. And that's the truth of it all when you really look at it. AOC, when asked to fight, forced to vote, she says to Jimmy Dore and on Twitter, "This is violence. This is violence." No, we were asking you to fight. Hey, AOC, what's it like knowing that Matt Gaetz proved that force to vote works? And she says, oh, this is hindering. There's nothing hindering you. There's nothing hindering you. When Bernie Sanders started off, he was all by himself. I remember that. And little did we know, we all get swindled for a long con game. But he was able to build that movement up. Just like how all of you hitched a ride on it and then took advantage of people's kindness and generosity, their hopes and their dreams. I'm looking at you, Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, DSA, and all these other quote-unquote progressive groups saying, we got to fight and resist. And oh, no. Turns out you can't reform the Democratic Party. As I said before, it's like getting eaten by the bear and assuming that you could change it from the inside, when all what the bear is going to do is take a big old sloppy shite. That's what's called making an AOC.
Republican and largely Republican financed organization is playing and dumping money and playing an extremely divisive role in the Democratic Party. And by the way, it makes it much harder for us to coalition build and to create the winning coalitions that not just can ensure that we have representation at the congressional level, but they are spending this money into our party for a reason. Because we need that coalition to win back House majorities. We need that energy and coalition of a progressive base in order to make sure that we win statewide.
And that coalition is what that coalition can't survive in the Democratic Party. Your party won't accept you, which is why people have been asking those squad members at the time, including Bernie Sanders, to break away, form a new party, actually build a strong movement. But no, electoral politics won't save us. Citizen ballot initiatives and getting money out of politics and creating movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. is the pathway to go. Gone are the days of trusting people like AOC.
And federally, and Republicans are pouring money to finance these for a reason. Because
like how Democrats also pour money into Republican primaries. You know, maybe people forgot, but during the 2022 midterm election cycle, and yes, even some in 2020 as well, Democrats were promoting, you know, extreme right-wing MAGA or Trump-aligned primary opponents because they would be viewed as easier to defeat when they go into the general election. That's what the DCCC did. We talked about this here on Hard Lens Media. We did that. We covered that story. So AOC, what you're lying. You're lying again. You need the coalition. The coalition can't survive in the Democratic Party because many people are not corporate donors, and you're part of a political party that listens to the donors. Democrats, like Republicans, who are part of the political system in Washington, D.C., are owned and controlled by the donors. They owe nothing to the voters.
To win back House majorities, we need that energy and coalition of a progressive base in order to make sure that we win statewide and federally. And Republicans are pouring money to finance these for a reason. Because people and representatives like Jamal Bowman can move and reach communities that many other areas of the Democratic Party cannot. And so if Republicans can finance taking people like that off the board, they can also make it easier for themselves in November. And so I think for all of us as a party, regardless of your stances, it's very important that we have a conversation about why Republicans are playing such a large role in financing division among Democrats.
Do you think there's any...
She doesn't know what she's talking about. Because here's a problem. Here's a problem again. It's not only that Jamal Bowman failed to really be approachable with his voting base, but he voted again. Look, just a quick reminder. This is from the Post. This is from Kshama Sawant on X, Twitter. Bowman voted for Israel's Iron Dome project. He voted with the rest of the squad to block railroad workers and strike, and refused to fight for the $50 minimum wage or Medicare for all. He was absent for forced to vote. He wasn't there. And look what's happening to Cori Bush right now. Here's what's happening to her in her election, in her race. And that is, oh my goodness, it's a dead heat. Representative Cori Bush and her primary challenger, Wesley Bell, are locked in a dead heat in what is to be expected a competitive primary in August, according to a poll released this week. The survey conducted by the polling firm, the Mellman Group, for the organization Democrat Majority for Israel. Oh my goodness, look who it is. It's Israel again. They basically said she is ahead of Cori Bush by 1 point, 43%. So that's Wesley Bell, 43%, to Cori Bush's 42%, a difference well within a margin of error. This is a notable improvement for Bell from January, when a poll by the firm found Bush leading Cori Bush by 16 points. And that's so pathetic that Cori lost that lead. Shout out to Case Study QB, because, discussing Jamal Bowman loss and AIPAC going after more squad members. It's not only AIPAC going after squad members, but I do have to say this. Why is AOC so safe? It's almost like it's a game.
Some stunning results out of New York. Progressive incumbent Jamal Bowman losing his House primary race to Westchester County Executive George Latimer. The race was the most expensive House primary to date and was dominated by the Israel-Hamas war and its impact on voters. CNN senior national correspondent Miguel Marquez joins us now. Miguel, this loss wasn't a total surprise. Outside money did make a difference in this race, but it was a big win for George Latimer.
A huge win for George Latimer. He is very, very well known in Westchester County. The district itself is fairly moderate. So there were a lot of factors at play here, but AIPAC and its super PAC put in $15 million of the $25 million in this race. Look, it is the TV market in New York City, so it's a very expensive market, but still, it was extremely expensive. The number of ads, the mailers indoors. What was interesting about those ads were, though, they didn't talk about Gaza and Israel and Bowman's take on all of that. They were about who could work better with Joe Biden. Not something you hear in a lot of races. During their concession and their victory speeches last night, here's what the candidates said.
And God help us build a better world where everyone understands when we say free Palestine, it is not anti-Semitic.
Tonight we turn a page and we say that we believe in inclusion of everybody in our representation.
And it really came down to this, who could strike a more moderate sort of tone. For Jamal Bowman, it wasn't just that he was saying free Palestine. A lot of New Yorkers, a lot of Jewish New Yorkers would agree that they don't like what's happening in Gaza. They don't like Netanyahu's conduct of the war, but that he called for a ceasefire so early. He called it 75 years of occupation. He called it a genocide regularly. He called it.
But he also, guess what? Again, it's not only just AIPAC. I mean, it's easy. AIPAC did play a factor. But there's this right here. And that is this. Hey, from Kshama Sawant. I know I read it twice, but I want to read it again one more time. Squad member Jamal Bowman's defeat is a cautionary tale for the left and certainly for socialists. But what can happen? But this is what happens when leaders break their promises to the working class. Bowman voted for the Iron Dome. He blocked railroad workers' right to strike, refused to fight for the $15 minimum wage or for Medicare for all. I want to pull up another video here where, my goodness, the Justice Democrats are here. The Just Us Democrats. Take it away.
Very happy with the outcome. I voted for George Latimer, and I'm sick of the squad. Bowman has some issues lately. They're not really helping much. I think that the negative kind of that he got in TV, I think that kind of maybe hurt him a little bit.
It was one of the most expensive House primary races ever, with more than $15 million behind Latimer from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, a group backing Bowman, Justice Democrats blasting that AIPAC funding.
Not only because of the...
Hey, spokesperson for the Justice Democrats. How come you guys suck now?
...assault on our democracy, but the fact that overwhelmingly AIPAC Super PAC is funded by Republican billionaires and Donald Trump's mega donors.
The Bowman campaign sticking to its position on Hamas and Israel, calling for a permanent ceasefire.
We will never stand for the bombing and killing of babies in Gaza.
He's just there lying. He voted for the Iron Dome. You know, he talked about it with Charlemagne the God about all the wonderful benefits of being a congressman. And Latimer is going to enjoy those benefits too, just like AOC does. It's all one big game. They're not serious. Our politicians are not serious people. And no, I don't love them. I despise them. They're not human.
And I just think he didn't get out enough, though, because he's a friend of mine. Yeah, he could have easily won that. I don't even believe you got it right. It couldn't be.
Latimer last night talked about bringing people together.
That you are included.
The fact that he said you were included. No, if you're a Democratic voter, you're just getting a participation trophy. You're not included in any decision making.
No matter what your demographic is. Doesn't matter your age, color of your skin.
Latimer now faces off against Republican Miriam Flisser, a pediatrician and former Scarsdale mayor, in the general election on November 5th.
And so now Cori Bush is facing off against the same uphill fight. She's got to fight now. But she's on her own, if you really think about it. Trust me on it, folks. This isn't a good solution. This is terrible for the Democrats and for all these progressives. Democrats, you do realize that right now, Uncommitted has at least 30 to 36 confirmed delegates. This is why the DNC event, the DNC convention here in Chicago, perhaps half of it will be online. Dare I say it? I don't know how it's really going to be run down. Now, we here at Hardlens Media will cover it, but AOC is wondering, oh, it's just AIPAC's fault. Yes, AIPAC did play a role, but you want to know what led to the defeat of Jamal Bowman and potentially Cori Bush? And that is breaking your promise to your voting base. We progressives remember. Hell, we demanded, we acted, we asked. Not only did we act first, we acted hard and fast for Bernie Sanders, standing in solidarity with him. We asked him to fight back, and he did nothing. Then these fake coalitions of the Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, and DSA came around to capitalize on our hopes. Break away from the system. Dismiss the system. Stand against it. Because AOC, all what she's going to do is make you feel guilty. She broke her promises. Bowman broke his promises. Cori Bush broke her promises. They all did. They're a politician. What do you expect from them? So as Kshama Sawant, she's absolutely correct. It serves as a cautionary tale. But electoral politics won't get us out of this mess. It's going to have to be us. It always has been and always will be. These politicians are not the knights on the hill. You are.